Like in almost every way, life is better for almost everyone today than it was, say, 50 years ago or 100 years.
If given the choice to be born during any time in history, data shows that you should pick right now in this current moment.
A baby born today can expect to live in excess of 80 years in incredible material prosperity that the richest people living in 1900 could never have considered.
Fewer people have died in conflicts in recent decades than in most of the 20th century.
Things were terrible before 1895. Your parents were going to be dead, at least one of them. You were going to lose at least half your children. You're going to spend the vast majority of your time in back-breaking work. Your life was hard.
And global poverty is literally falling by the second. In the US, more people died in 2019 from bee stings than terrorism. But here's the confusing part. At the very same time,
anxiety is on the rise with so many people.
We have seen increased reports of distress, increased reports of stress, increased reports of individuals feeling overwhelmed.
The average life expectancy in North America has fallen over the last few years. In the last decade, rates of depression have risen in all age demographics.
A new report from the CDC is giving us insight into how much teenagers are struggling with their mental health, especially teenage girls.
New data from BC shows the rate of adults using ADHD medication has gone up dramatically, from 1 in 1,000 adults in 2002 to nearly 17 in 1,000 by last year.
Deaths associated with drug overdoses have quadrupled in the last decade. Suicide is now the third leading cause of death among teenagers aged 15 to 19 years. The market for antidepressant and anxiety medications is expected to nearly double from $13.5 billion to over $22 billion between the years of 2020 and 2027, with SSRIs, a medication specifically designed to release more serotonin in the brain, making up around 60% of the market share. These trends seem to transcend the barriers of social economics, race, gender, and age, and are disproportionately impacting our youth. Looking at all this, we have to ask ourselves, what is going on? Let's talk about it. Why do we struggle? Despite what seems to be an endless supply of stuff to make us happy and lead us to fulfillment, we still fight fear, unhappiness, desire, anger, grief, shame, depression, and general feelings of not being enough or having enough. We struggle in our relationships, our places of work, our social circles, and deeply within ourselves where no one else sees. When I was 22 years old, after listening to Brian Tracy, I wrote all my life goals down and created a plan to achieve them. I refreshed and updated this list yearly for 14 years. By my mid-30s, I had accomplished each and every one of my goals. I had financial independence, the wife I wanted, the kids I wanted, the home, the cars, the friends, the body, the health, the influence, all of it. Yet I still was not fulfilled, and I could not live in a state of contentment and happiness. How can this be? And why was I still struggling? This content is devoted to answering this question. And bit by bit, the aim is to start peeling back the layers of the onion to get to the truth. It's amazing to me that once you whittle it down, the truth always seems to be so simple. But there's a process of awareness and a process of discovery that we have to go through to get to that simple truth, or else we can't accept it. That process is called being and becoming. My content is about that process, as I'm currently going through it myself and into it myself, seeking to have less of the struggle and more of what I truly want: peace, happiness, joy, meaning, fulfillment, and mostly love. This video gets us started, but in no way is it the complete picture. It's, as I've said, this is the first layer, just part of becoming aware. Through a willingness to learn and an ability to accept the truth, the hope is that we can let go of what we don't want in order to move into the lives that we do want. This is where that process started for me, and I'll continue to share the progression, the awareness, and the accomplishment that has come along the way. There's a saying that I never heard until recently. It says that he who controls the flow of information has the most power. Our history reflects this too. We humans have always depended on one another to lean on and to learn from. The greatest networking tool that we've ever come across is our ability to communicate. The way humans have evolved in their means of communication has really been the deciding factor in how information is gathered and shared from person to person. The growth of society as we know it came from our ability to better control and expand our means of communicating with each other. When we take a look at the history of communication, it paints a picture for us to look at, a picture that I believe can help us understand ourselves. The first part of figuring out how we got here is to look back at where we came from. Much of the science that I could find points towards there being 4 main transformations in the way that humans communicate. The first transformation occurred about 4,400 years ago. This is when we started writing. Once the alphabet was invented, people could memorialize thought forever. They could tell a story and have it recorded without change from the original author. Prior to this, humanity relied on oral tradition alone. All of our stories and our history were passed down by word of mouth, people talking to other people and sharing ideas, stories, and conversations. Think about how accurate that was. But now, rules could be recorded. Origins of religious beliefs could be recorded. Laws can be recorded. Governing rules, stories that had been passed down for generations could now be written and unchanged. This changed everything about the world, and it changed how we communicate. It soon became evident that the wealthy, who could learn to read and write, would also hold the most power among the people. The church gained power as it could now produce and preserve religious texts. Fast forward 4,000 years, and the next transformation in how we communicate takes place. Humans gain the ability to mass produce writing. With the creation of the printing press, a people that were previously bound by their literacy and ability to write could now reproduce text en masse. This access to printed text spurred humanity to the next huge growth spurt. Literacy rates went up, the church split in two, science was invented, as were the arts and philosophy, and our educational system was created, and people began to innovate. Next, we move forward 400 years. Humans have learned to devour information from books and are about to kickstart a huge period of innovation known as the Industrialized Revolution. During this time, we will see changes coming one right after another. Think of how these things change the way that humans interact and communicate. The steam engine, cotton gin, photographs, steel production, the light bulb, the airplane, the steel plow, the telephone. Just like the others, this transformation changed the world. Those that used these new changes to innovate and produce goods and services for the overall benefit of others won the day. And those that resisted the changes, well, they lost. To recap so far, we had 4,000 years to adapt to the first transformation. Then we had about 400 years to adapt to the change right after the second transformation. After this transformation, we have less than 100 years to adapt before we start innovating and moving at warp speed. Now, a lot of folks believe that the fourth transformation started with the information age. Other people that I've come across say it started with the invention of the internet or the laptop computer. What I see, though, is that the fourth transformation started right around the year 2010, and nobody was even paying attention. In 2010, we had a convergence of innovation. High-speed internet, computers, cell phones, and social media all converged into one single thing. If you own a smartphone, I believe that you may be in possession of the culprit behind the fourth transformation, or at least one of the main players. This is what I found. Guess what year the iPad was invented? 2010. And Steve Jobs, in an interview, once said that he didn't even let his kids use them. When did 4G networks become a thing? 2010. When did Pinterest start? 2010. Well, how about Instagram? 2010. Android operating systems and Samsungs? That happened in 2010. What about this start of this big rise from Amazon? How about this rise in the revenue from Netflix? What about this Facebook milestone? Now, check this out. These are historical rates of overdose. When does this really start to take off? Here is another one focused on cocaine and opioids. Take a look at this chart on teenage depression, or this one. Look at this Gallup poll that's been done over 71 years. People are at their lowest level of happiness currently in 71 years. And when we look back just previous to 2009, we see people at their happiest ever. I am not claiming that cell phones have caused our mental health crisis. I'm saying that it seems obvious that it has something to do with it. I believe the crisis is rooted in something way deeper, but we can't go deeper yet because we are too darn distracted. What is happening is that our attention is being fragmented, so fragmented that we cannot focus on where our happiness comes from or our sadness, because we can't focus at all. Information is coming at us so fast that we don't know what's happening. We don't ever take a step back and rest, and we are stressed out and overwhelmed. But what we need to be aware of is that this is all happening by design. We now know what a lot of people have suspected for a long time. Big tech products and platforms were designed specifically to be psychologically addicting. This is done to maximize engagement and retain attention, which leads to higher profits. The currency of the new tech is attention, and this is being dubbed the attention economy. Our attention is the commodity, and we give our attention to the tech company that can hold it the longest. And then we share what's left over with the other tech companies that come in second, third, fourth, and so on. This is now where our attention is. Our attention has become the most valuable resource on the planet. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here are the top 10 largest companies from the year 1994. ExxonMobil leads the charge with oil and gas at $78 billion of value. Coke and Walmart, a beverage company and a retailer, round out the top 3. Looking at the top 10, what sectors do we see? Consumer goods, oil and gas, retail, pharmaceuticals, and a little bit of tech thanks to IBM. Now let's look at that same list in 2024. Apple is worth almost $3 trillion. That's about 38 times larger than Exxon was 30 years ago. Microsoft is closing in on $3 trillion. How about 46 times larger than the Coca-Cola company of 1994? Google is worth $1.7 trillion. Then we see Amazon, Nvidia, Facebook, and Tesla. How many of these have to do with tech or attention? In exchange for short-term dopamine hits, we are freely giving away our attention. This massive push for profits has left us so distracted and digitally sedated that most people don't even notice how physically, emotionally, and mentally drained that they really are. We haven't had enough time to adapt to how quickly everything is changing. Our brains are wired for face-to-face interaction and community. They are programmed to seek and to create meaning. Our bodies, they were made to physically move. We are not meant to be humans devoid of meaning, antisocial, sedentary, net consumers staring at screens all day. We are overworked, overtired, overstressed, overstimulated, overpressured, sleep-deprived, lonely, and still we are endlessly plugged in. We are forgetting what it is to be human. And it's time to be made aware of that. And we have to learn to take back our attention so that we can focus on being who we are supposed to be and becoming who we want to be. These are all just symptoms of the real problem. The real problem is that we are not being who we should be, and we are not on the right path to becoming who we should be. All of this attention being placed on the outside of us is distracting us from our true sources of happiness. Those only come from the inside of us. The outward is not getting us any of the things we want. Placing our wanting and attention on media, distractions, things, titles, pleasures, recognition, substances, money, or other people only leave us unfulfilled and wanting more and more. But until we can begin to take an inventory of where our attention is going and begin to reclaim some of that, we won't have the bandwidth to deal with anything going on inside our lives. So that's where it starts. It starts by just becoming aware. Awareness alone is enough to begin minimizing a thing. Don't believe me? Start paying very specific attention to the things that you want to change in your world, the things that you want to stop doing. Start counting how many times that you do that thing that you want to stop doing, and you'll notice that over time, Just through awareness and paying closer attention, you will begin to solve your problem and your habits will slowly change. Don't resist exposing these habits. The things that we resist always persist. Start being aware of how much time you are looking at screens in a non-productive way. Face it and tell the truth, the actual truth. How often are you looking at a screen rather than interacting with a loved one? Are you justifying your use by saying it will better serve your family or future? Stop doing that and work on being present in the moment where you are. That's the only thing that's real, and it's something that I have to try to do every day. Choice, decision, and action lead you to success, not planning on doing it later while watching endless content. Take the actions needed to reallocate your attention from things that do not serve your present or future to things that do. Replace video watching with reading a real book. They're not the same thing. Replace a text conversation with a real conversation. Resist the email and pick up the phone. Don't watch workout videos. Go work out. Start writing, start creating, start giving, start doing something, anything. Move away from consumption and more into production. Produce anything just to do it for what it will make of you in the process. If we can get free from our devices just enough, we can begin to search for the things that can make us truly happy. We can begin to really dig into what it means to feel joy and peace. We can start to diagnose the sources of the emotional states and the feelings that we do not want to have. And we can look into the things that we do want and improve those things, and we can change in a positive way. We can start to move closer to living life more like we want to versus living a life of constant stress and striving. We seem to think that the consumption of all this information, all this data will help us alleviate our unwanted feelings. We go to our devices for comfort, for release, to feel better. It's really a tool designed to distract. But the very fact that this way of thinking is not working currently should be evidence enough that these things cannot serve as the solution to how we feel. The first thing we have to stop doing, and I mean everyone, regardless of our opinion, we have to stop blaming things for our problems. These companies that own and operate this technology, if we blame them, they will continue to have power over us. Here's the rule. Power follows blame. Anything you blame will hold power in your life. So we have to take back responsibility. Blame ourselves for our position and life experience. Only by doing it this way can we have the power to change anything about our lives. Once we are fully accountable and we can bring everything to light, only then can we clearly see the path that we need to take in order to have less suffering and more joy.